My name is Kat Corchado. I am a fellow Air Force veteran and host of the podcast Sisters in Service. This podcast is where I found my passion for helping other veterans after my transition from the military over 22 years ago. My mission is to help veterans avoid the black hole known as transition, to help women veterans find their voice and discover their strengths as they enter civilian life. There's a new episode every Tuesday. I hope that you'll listen, you'll like, you'll share, you'll comment, and let me know what you'd like to hear on this podcast. Until then, I hope to see you again soon. Please stay safe, take care of each other, and it's never too late to start your impossible. Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Service. I am your host, Kat Corchado, and my guest today is Kerri Bicskei. She is a pro athlete turned entrepreneur. She's the founder of her company, ReadySetMindful, and host of the podcast, ReadySetMindful. Kerri, welcome to Sisters in Service. So glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So for those of you that don't know, here's a little behind the scenes. I could not say this woman's last name. I tripped over it twice. So third time's a charm.
Yeah, to be fair, it is spelled very differently than it's pronounced. So
I know. I'm just a stickler for pronouncing people's names. So this was take 3, y'all, just saying. Anyway, welcome, Kerri.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do this. So first and foremost, for my listeners, what is your connection to military?
Yeah. So my husband is active duty in the Air Force. He is in the, go Air Force. He's in the SERE, he's a SERE specialist. So SERE is the survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. So he's, special operations and does a lot of work with, lots of different branches of military, but yeah, so that's my connection there. We got married in July. So now I'm officially a military spouse. But
congratulations.
Also, thank you. Very excited.
So is he an instructor? Does he instruct others, or he's actually, well, I guess you have to be one in order to teach one, but does he teach others how to do all of that?
Yeah, for sure. So there's different flights for the SERE program. And so as you kind of work your way up, you go in these flights. And so initially when he was just an airman staff sergeant, he was in the flights going to the field, actually doing more of the, boots on the ground. They take air crew and they teach them, these survival skills as if, they were to be in a position where they'd need to, evade and escape and learn how to survive. So they do that for about a week with a lot of different air crew from all over the world come over to do this course here in Spokane, Washington. It's the hub for the SERE program. So that's what he did for a couple years. And now as he's moved up, he is about to put on tech. So tested now, he'll be a technical sergeant, and he's doing more of personnel recovery now. So a little bit more, special operations, like a little bit more, behind the scenes stuff. He's not able to tell me a whole lot about what he does now. But he's not going to the field as much as he was and doing, a lot of that survival training per se so much. It's a little bit more.
I think that's where my husband did survival training. I think he did.
Yeah.
Many people winter or something. I don't know. I can't remember. I just remember he said it in Washington, and it sounds very James Bondish. I should have put some music in there, but that's it's a very cool job, to do that.
Job.
Yeah,
it's not for the faint of heart, for sure. My husband has a lot of grit. He's a warrior. He's awesome. That program is just. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stories that come with that. Like, it's not for people who are not mentally tough and mentally strong. And, and that course really gives people just a little bit of a taste into what it would
be like. Yeah.
What their training and pipeline actually looked like. People get a taste of it. So people who are going through the course, do that for a week or 6 days. And so they get just a little smidgen of a glimpse of like, okay, great. That's
You're
what
like,
it is.
That's enough.
Awesome.
That's enough.
Take me home.
No, right.
Take me home now. Get me a blanket and a cup of coffee. Like I'm out of,
in my
get me out of
bed,
Spokane.
please. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a cool job. It's a really cool job.
It sounds like a cool job.
Few of them. There's I don't want to get the number right, but or the number wrong, but there's only a select few of them. It's a super small career field, but
yeah, my husband was in intelligence, so he said he had to go through all this survival training thing. And he tells me sometimes, oh yeah, I had to do this. I eat bugs and do it. And I was like, you don't eat bugs. No, you didn't. Stop it. He's like, no, I did. I was like, okay.
They have them kill rabbits and eat bugs and start their own fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing how to get water, which plants are, you can get water, I'm like, yeah, I would. I'm a tough person. I'm not that tough. Okay. I'm just going to put it out there. It's not for me.
Yeah. It'll take people out of their element, right? Because they're, you're trekking up mountains and like, there's so many physical and mental components to it. So even people that think that they kind of have a handle, he tells me some stories of students and, officers and like a lot of people who are just really struggling through the course.
Yeah. So. We'll talk about being out of your comfort zone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So absolutely. I know you were a Division I and professional athlete. So tell us a little bit about that. What sport, what kind of a badass were you? And, tell us a little behind the story of that.
Sure. Yeah. So before I met Austin, my husband, I was a, Division I college volleyball player. I played at Eastern Washington University and then University of New Mexico in the Mountain West Conference. And then I played professionally overseas for 9 seasons. So I played over there for quite a long time in Sweden, Spain, Canary Islands, the UK, all over the place for many years. So I played volleyball. That was my sport. Played volleyball and basketball growing up, but then transitioned, got scholarship for volleyball. I was a little bit better at volleyball. And, it just took me to some really cool places. And, I'm super lucky. I got to be able to see the countries and that I was able to go and see and meet a lot of cool people. And it was quite an adventure for a long time. And then I came back to Spokane. This was now 5 years ago. Came back to Spokane one Christmas just on a break from my contract in the Canary Islands. And I just came back to see my family for a few days and friends. And then, I was meeting up with my friend for dinner and then happened to, I met my husband that night. And so we started to chat and connect and, I was like, okay, there's something here. And, I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to play or maybe I'll apply for a job in Spokane and just kind of see what happens. So it was super impulsive of me, but I applied for one job, got the job, ended up staying here and kind of unintentionally retiring from professional volleyball. And then just, been with my husband ever since. And so it was a great decision, but, that's kind of what led to my transition, out of, indoor professional volleyball and now into this like entrepreneurial space. And, so it's been, it's been a ride.
You kind of glossed over Canary Islands. I mean, seriously, she goes, oh yeah, I came back from my contract at Canary Islands. I was like, wait, what? Canary Islands. Wow. What was that like?
It was beautiful. It was definitely a shock to the system to come from the Canary Islands. I was in Tenerife on that island and playing and having a great time. And then came back to the Spokane winter in December.
You're like, what is this crap? What's this white stuff on the ground?
I was like, oh yeah, forgot about the 4 seasons over here. Oh man. So that was, it was a trip. It was really fun. Such a different world over there. Played with a lot of, Brazilians and Spaniards and lots of teammates from all over the place and beautiful sunny weather. It was really a great time. I met a lot of great people over there and it was only intended to be just a little break for my contract back in Spokane. And then it really turned out.
And look what happened. You met your future husband. So
Yeah,
so it
wild.
wasn't a forced retirement. You just decided, I don't want to be in the Canary Islands only because you had met your future.
Yeah.
But you still continued in the United States and in Washington State, correct?
Yeah, right. So it was an unintentional, I just stayed here
Mhm.
and was like, hey, maybe I can, just apply for this job, kind of see what happens with this relationship because it feels special. And, so just seeing what happens there. And then, just continuing to play volleyball here in the States. I play a lot of beach now, and I run. So I do some races and marathons and triathlons now. And so continued that,
So
the
once an
athletic
athlete, always
endeavors.
an athlete,
Yeah,
right?
you just transition into something else. I, I do have one friend. She's an anomaly, but we played college together, college teammate, and she literally does not work out at all now. I'm like, I don't understand. So she's an anomaly, but everyone else that I've ever played with, all of my other athlete friends, you just kind of
You find something
transition.
else. You're like,
Exactly.
what's this? What's this running thing? Let me try this,
Yeah. And there's all these sports that you weren't really allowed to do. Like I was never allowed to. I was in these beautiful countries like Spain and, Finland and Scandinavia, and I was never allowed to ski or do anything other than volleyball. And so now I ski, and I'm like, oh, what are these other sports like that I was too afraid of getting injured, playing.
Right.
So now I'm just finding my new way.
Where you fit in. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So I know that you are a licensed psychotherapist and a mental performance coach, and you work with athletes and high performers. So I get the athletes part. What's considered a high performer?
Yeah. A lot of military members are high performers, right? So they have these careers and these roles where they're expected to have really high mental performance and physical performance. So I work with a lot of, veterans and active duty military who, I include in that high performer. So other high performers could be, entrepreneurs, people who have high stress, high pressure jobs or positions, or athletes, also are included in that as well. But yeah, a lot of military, and then executives who have high pressure positions. Those are kind of what I include in the high performers.
Now, I noticed that you also use meditation. So when you are working one-on-one with an athlete or a high performer, is this something that you pull into how you help them, or does it depend on the situation?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I'm really grounded in using meditation and breath work as a tool for helping a lot of the athletes and a lot of the military members that I work with, because oftentimes, when you think of someone who has this high pressure, career or role, things are moving super fast, right?
Yes.
For them throughout the day. And there's a lot on your plate, a lot of expectations, lots to do, lots of anxiety that can come with that. And so the meditation and the breath work is really to allow that person to take a step back and to really slow down and to create space between some of that anxiety, some of their thoughts, and then their responses. And so, and how their body responds. So in session, we'll do some breath work. I always, prescribe, if you will, breath work, twice a day, sometimes more depending on what that person is kind of going through. And I just allow them to kind of, to write down and to see what shifts are happening in them and how it's working for them. If they're noticing any changes, any benefits from it. So breath work is definitely something that I use. So we'll do that together in session so that they can kind of see what it looks like to breathe from your diaphragm and these different variations of the breath work.
Right.
And then the meditation, I have, on my podcast, I have a few meditations recorded that I've released as episodes. And then I'll send them the podcast so that they can hear me do a guided meditation for them, for anxiety, for sleep, for performance,
Right.
Right before competitions, things like that. So I have all these different meditations that I prescribe them depending on what's going on as well.
That's pretty cool. Do you work one-on-one? Do you work in groups, or? And I'm assuming it's more one-on-one because, you can't put like a basketball player and then someone who does a different sport because it's different. It's a different, or does it matter? Does it matter?
Yeah. So I'm a mental performance coach and a licensed psychotherapist. And so with coaching, I can work in a small group setting or, do group coaching, things like that. I haven't moved into that model completely yet. I'm working on that. I have like a course now, and then I'm doing like a group coaching course that I will be working with groups of athletes and groups of people. But right now I do, with my therapy practice, it's one-on-one work primarily. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you deal
with teams?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, with teams too. I forgot to mention, like with the work that I do at Gonzaga University and with other universities, I will do like a group, like guided meditation or visualization for groups and teams and things like that. Yeah.
I do know, like, I'm going to say, where were you when I was an athlete? Because we didn't have those way back in the day. But as an athlete, we had to kind of rely on our own, you have to calm yourself down. You know what I mean? And, we didn't know about breath work then, even though you might have been doing it, you just didn't have a name for it. Right. But I remember, especially in not so much team sports, but I was also in track and field where you have to really just focus. And I remember some of my best performances was when in my head, it got really, really quiet. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where and I think Michael Jordan had said something like that's when you're in the zone, when it's just quiet and you don't hear anything. And I thought, that's kind of cool to realize that that's what I was doing back then.
Yeah.
But how do you help, nowadays it's, athletes are doing really well, but then they get injured. Mm-hmm. And is their mindset different coming back from an injury than before, maybe when they were actually playing? I'm assuming it would be yes, but do you treat someone who is injured differently than someone who's just trying to be a better performer?
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think, and going back to, I want to just kind of comment on what you had said before about, when you were an athlete needing to do so much of that, so much of your own lean on so many of your own tools. And I think that is absolutely the case. And it's so important. That's a lot in the work that I do. I want these athletes and these clients that I work with to be independent and self-sufficient and to not depend on me forever, but for me to like give them some tools to work on so that they, can be, can stand on their own and can pull out these tools when they need to. And one thing that is really different between now and then when you were an athlete or when I was even an athlete, like this social media, this accessibility to distraction and sensory overload, and heightened anxiety, like that, it was way easier for me to get into the, to a high performance zone without all of that extra stuff that's in the
absolutely
way that's provoking anxiety. And same for you, right? Like you're not checking your phone right before you race or doing different things.
Absolutely.
And so that's a big piece of the puzzle. I think now that a lot of the college athletes and student athletes that I work with, like that's a really big thing for them that brings them a lot of anxiety, is the screens. But back to your point of what you mentioned with the mindset, there absolutely is a difference, with an athlete who's going through an injury or retirement or transitioning out of their sport and into, another area of their athletic journey. Like that's my sweet spot. That's where I love to work with people who are in transition, because I've been through the injuries and the surgeries. I've been through transitioning from college to pro to retired to entrepreneur, to triathlete, all of these different transitions. And so there's so much. I know the fear, I know the anxiety, I know the stress, all of the questions that you're asking yourself when you're injured, if you're going to be able to come back stronger, how long it's going to take, if someone's going to take your spot, if your recovery is going to be good enough and fast enough and all of these things. So yeah, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty lot of doubt that comes with working with someone who's coming back from an injury and even transitioning, right? Like military as well, like coming back post deployment, like all of these different transition pieces that are part of the puzzle. Am I going to be able to like, are things with my family going to be the same? Like, am I going to be the same? Like, I've experienced all of this heavy shit. Like, what do I do with that? Like, there's
let me
so
just
many
put this over
pieces.
here for now. So I'll deal with it later.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces for sure, but that's a lot of the work that I like to help people kind of work with these transitions and kind of make it bite-sized and micro. And what can we do today to get you, a little bit out of your emotional brain and into your rational brain and slow things down a little bit when your anxiety is starting to ramp up and all these questions. What if I can't do this? And what if this happens? And blah, blah, blah. And things are moving fast. I just constantly remind clients okay, we have to just really slow down throughout the day because our bodies get really activated and our emotional brain gets really activated. And then
you can't really perform. You start to shut down.
You can't think, you can't perform. You have a really limited scope of what you're able to do and information you're able to process. So not great for communication, relationships, performance, none of that when you're tense and you can only have this much of a window, of a couple, not so much of a window to function at a high level.
I think it's also trusting that injury, if it's a knee injury or foot injury, is it going to get me through? And once you get that confidence, it gives you this kind of renewal. But it's interesting to me being an athlete. I never thought of the transition period from athlete to non-athlete, although you're still athletic. You're just not at that high of a performance level, but also the transition from military to veteran, it's kind of the same journey. It seems like, you know what I mean?
For sure. Absolutely. You're a part of something bigger. You're a part of a team. You're a part of a flight or a squadron or wing. And now all of a sudden you're on your own. You don't have that tight knit of a community or that, close proximity to people who were so supportive and in your network prior. If you're lucky enough to work with people who support you, we're really lucky in the SERE community where it's a really tight knit, awesome support network. And so, when my husband moves out of that at some point, right, like it's this whole transition, transition period that we want to work through to make sure that it doesn't just feel like such a drop off, because I think you can go from feeling really connected and really supported and really valued and a part of something, right? And to being isolated, feeling depressed, feeling disconnected. Those are the things that are definite commonalities between, athletes transitioning out of their sport and kind of doing something else. And then also, military as well. Mm-hmm.
Well, I do know that, when a family's in the military, the whole family's in the military, but when they come out of the military, that they're going through that whole transition period themselves. So I know you said that you have worked with active duty and veterans. In what ways do you help them? What do you help them with exactly?
Yeah. So I do work with, a few active duty. I love working with military members because I have that background being a spouse. And I feel like that's really helpful to have that background for sure. So, the things that I've seen military struggle with, like PTSD, like post-deployment, transitioning, those have been the biggest issues. I was working with a client not too long ago, was having a lot of different issues, PTSD, sleep, right? Like on a lot of different substances and lots going on there, just lots of moving pieces. So it's really, a combination of lots of different things. But I think that post-deployment, like that's what I've seen primarily like in my practice, that, folks that are having trouble, like integrating, coming back, like having so much anxiety and stress and just feeling like they're not able to turn that off and they're not able to sleep. And so those have been some of the issues that I've really helped, helped those clients with. We talk, I have a really holistic assessment, like in the beginning when I'm seeing new clients, like how are you sleeping? What medications are you taking? Any history of suicidal ideation that I need to look out for, any trauma, emotional trauma, sexual trauma, physical trauma. We talk about that. So I can just get little bite-sized answers. So to kind of build, paint me a picture.
Puzzle pieces, puzzle pieces. And then you put the puzzle pieces together and you know how to help them.
Absolutely. Right. And that's really helpful for me. And it's really helpful for them. Sometimes when you're saying things out loud and you're like, oh, okay, like this kind of makes sense to me now that you've pointed this out, and I'm looking at all these different pieces of the puzzle. And so, we get that assessment, and get that trust and that rapport built in that session. And then we're able to kind of focus on what that person's, goals are for the session. And then we have a streamlined direction for what I'm able to really help with. But breath work is definitely always where I start, because anxiety is definitely the commonality. I have probably 30 clients in my practice right now, and 28 of them are seeing me for anxiety, right? I have, and situational depression, but anxiety is always there. It's always a piece of the puzzle, because in our culture, we're kind of wired for things to move fast, and for, we're competitive, and we, beat ourselves up for not doing enough. And so there's always this anxiety piece that's at play. And so the breath work really can be so beneficial for pretty much everyone.
Yeah. It's, I was looking at your bio, and as a licensed psychotherapist, is that a natural progression? Was that a natural progression for you from being an athlete, or did you just kind of connect the two and say, wow, I can really help other athletes by going into this?
Yeah, it was a long journey to kind of figuring out where I knew I wanted to be. I had I have a whole nother master's in international development and refugee studies. And so
she's one of those, y'all. Life. Yeah, I'm a double major.
Oh my gosh. No, my husband. Yeah, it sounds cute, and you're still paying off the student loans for that. Right. And it's really not that cute. Everyone, please do not get 2 master's degrees. Almost 3 master's degrees. It's just not great. I highly discourage that. But I do have this other master's in international development and refugee studies. And I thought I wanted to, do this work and working in camps and working overseas. And because I was over there for 9 years and wanted to stay over there and do a lot of work in the UK. And so that was like a whole direction. And something just always felt like, I was like, there's still like this disconnect. There's still this piece that I can't really place. I wanted to work in refugee camps, helping kids connect with sport as like a vehicle for, having an outlet.
Yes.
And so I was like, I knew that there was this sport piece, refugee piece, and this, the kids piece. And I was like, So I was kind of just playing with those words and playing with those ideas. And then it wasn't until like a few years later, honestly, when I was having some anxiety when I was playing over in Sweden, one of my contracts, and I found breath work and meditation and just got really into it and was like, gosh, where was this in college? I would have been such a better athlete in college if I would have found this and found a way to harness my self-talk and my anxiety. And so I was like, I want to do more with this. Like, I think I really want to, go into therapy and help people one-on-one. And then I got kind of more niche down into sports psychology and got my master's in sports psychology, which is like where I feel like I'm supposed to be, bridging this gap between athletes and military and, people who are living in this highly stressed state and, a mental health. So there's a big gap still.
I think it's interesting that, breath work is so important. So as a Pilates instructor, breathing is a big deal, and, we think if we're not paying for something that, it's not going to help us. And people kind of, breathing, what's the big deal? but
Yeah.
it's huge. I have clients that come in and I'll ask them, I'm like, okay, I usually say, hey, how are you? And they're like, oh, I'm fine. And I'm like, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your energy level like? And they go, oh, it's like a 5. And I'm like, okay. And so we work within that realm of 5. I don't want to go over it. And every time afterwards they go, oh, I feel so much better. And, thank you for all the exercise. And I said, it wasn't the exercising, it was the breathing that came along with it. Because when you're anxious, what do? You do this very shallow breathing thing, and it doesn't help you at all. So breathing is very, very big. So for the people that are listening, what kind of clients would be a good fit for your practice?
Yeah. So I see a range of athletes and of clients who are, high school. I think my youngest client right now is 15. So I love working with high school age, adolescents. And then my oldest client is probably 60, 60, badass triathlete who's just killing it and loving the performance optimization piece of what I have to offer. So there's lots of different age ranges there, but I love working with military, active duty or veterans, anyone who's in a transition period of their life, like either exiting out of one stage of their athletic journey or their career and into another, and just navigating that transition. That's really where I thrive, and working with anyone who has any anxiety, surrounding those transitions and surrounding, where they're at in their journey. So those are good fits for me. So lots of different folks that I see.
So I also know that you have a free Weekend Warrior audit coaching session. Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. Yeah. So I introduced that as a new part of my my podcast episodes. So I'm going to be working with, I've released a couple of them already. So coaching style episodes for around 30 minutes. So this is for anybody who is wanting some free coaching around their transitions, navigating, one stage of their life into the next. And they're having some stress and confusion around that, some anxiety maybe around that. So, I have on ReadySetMindful.com on the Weekend Warrior audit. You can sign up for that. And then that will be released as a podcast episode. So,
oh, nice.
We just talk about where your challenges are, what your goals are. And then we kind of problem solve through some of that transition. So if you're cool with, airing whatever you're struggling with kind of out there, I definitely encourage people to reach out. I just released one with a former pro volleyball player wants to be entrepreneur now. And so we just did a cool episode the other day on that. So if people want to go and listen to that, then you can have a taste of what that kind of looks like if you're interested in doing that.
Yeah. How often does your podcast come out?
Yeah. So I have weekly episodes. So I have a guest episode, and then I alternate that with a solo episode, or the Weekend Warrior audit now is kind of in the shuffle as well. So good mix for people. So guests and solo episodes.
Yeah. So where can people find you if they want to sign up for the Weekend Warrior, they want to be a guest on your podcast, or they just want your services as a psychotherapist? How can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on social, on Instagram and Facebook at ReadySetMindful, ReadySetMindful. And then ReadySetMindful.com. And then you'll see a link for the Weekend Warrior audit at the top of the page. And so go ahead and just sign up for a session there. And email Kerri, Kerri at ReadySetMindful.com. So pretty much everything is on the website, pretty accessible if you want to find a way to work together.
One last question. So when I talk to people about meditation, they always say things like, oh, I can't meditate, or they think they have to meditate for an hour, or they'll say things like, well, I can't shut my brain off. Well, if you shut your brain off, you may not be breathing, just saying.
Right.
So what words of encouragement or what kind of advice could you give someone who's maybe looking to implement meditation into their life, are there some simple tips that they can use?
Yeah, for sure. And I actually have on I hear the same things that you do, very similar things that you do. And I have on my website actually like some of these myths and, some of these objections that people have. And then my answers are to those things for sure. But I think, people have this idea of what breath work is or what meditation is. And sometimes we hear these words that can be really scary, like retirement, right? Can be like you hear that and you're like, it hits everyone in a different way.
Dun, 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 dun.
It can be kind of scary, right? And I feel like meditation is kind of like that for people. People are like, no, like that's just not for me. Let's just not talk about that. And so everyone has these constructs and these ideas that they've kind of built up in their brain and these justifications and excuses for not moving forward with that. And so oftentimes this idea of meditation is so big and so daunting and so scary for people that they just don't even make room for, or entertain the thought that it can look different, right? That it's not just one bald guy sitting in a robe, like emptying his brain, right?
For hours at a time,
Yeah, like in the Himalayas. Like it looks so different. There's so many meditation styles. And so I always like to, encourage people to start with the breath work, right? Because the breath work is like the lead in for meditation. So starting really small with the bite-sized intro to breath work. So, hey, here's what like a 4-8 looks like. An inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, right? From your belly. Nice big exhale through your nose for 8 seconds. Nice and slow. Okay. And do a couple rounds of those. That's the 4-8 breath work. That's what we're going to start off with. Moments during your day when you're feeling like you're getting pretty activated, right? Like you're just going to do that 4-8 2 times. And then we can migrate into the box breathing, which is like a next step up. Now they're like really kind of getting it integrated and feeling like it's a part of their routine. Then we can start with a 5-minute meditation, 5-minute guided meditation. I never encourage anyone to do, an unguided meditation from the start, right? Because it can be really frustrating.
I still do a guided one. I can't do one that's, I need someone to say, and now we're going to, I need that.
It's so helpful. Yeah. It's super helpful, right? Like, and that's okay. It's great to have the guided meditation. And so, starting super small, I would encourage anyone that is curious, meditation curious, like start really small, and make room for the idea that it can look different. It doesn't have to be this big, daunting, scary version of everyone else's idea of what meditation is. It can look like a walk. It can look like a 4-8 breath. It can look very different, depending on the situation. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the best ones that I ever heard was someone had said that when you want to go into your relax mode, you have this room. It's your room. You decorate it the way you want to, but you actually see yourself walking up the stairs to this room where it's decorated the way you want to. You see yourself sitting in the chair and you just feel yourself breathing, but you're seeing your room. And the clearer the room comes to you, the colors, the very distinct, being very exact in the type of furniture, the type of colors, that in and of itself calms you down. Yeah, so it was just very cool. And it's, that's not the only one. That's one that works for me, but there are a lot of different ones out there. So Kerri, thank you so much for being a part of this. I truly appreciate you and your time.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this was great. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Well, I really hope that everyone who's listening found something within this conversation that might help you to maybe start thinking a little bit more about meditation and breath work and how just a little bit can help you so much. So to all my sisters in service, please stay safe, take care of each other. Until next time, and I'm going to add one more thing. It's never too late to start your impossible.